Hello, Forensicators. Welcome to the kickoff of the Magnet Virtual Summit 2026 Capture the Flag. In this video, we are going to be looking at the answers for the Cipher questions from the CTF. For solving these questions, I pretty much only use the free tools that come with the Kane Forensics distro, and mainly command line tools and then some of the other free online resources that are available. Question 1. Can you handle this one? The question is basically a bunch of ones and zeros. So naturally, I head to my go-to tool for converting binary into something more useful, which is CyberChef, and you can access that through cyberchef.io. I copy and paste the code into the input box, go to the operations table, and then type in binary, because I'm going to use the from binary operation. So once that comes up, I'm going to drag that into the recipe box. And since I have auto bake turned on, I can see that the binary is now hex. And from my experience, I can see that the hex looks to be in the range of ASCII characters. So then I type in hex to the operations box, and I see from hex, which I will drag into the recipe box under the from binary. And voila, we see the decoded text of startme.stark4and6.com. I copy and paste that back into the challenge, and we got our first answer correct. All right, so now what's the significance of the answer? Well, Kevin Pagano's Start Me page is super useful for folks in the DFIR world. It's a tremendous resource for listing of tools, utilities, blogs, videos. This section here is going to come in handy for CTFs. You see tools that I use in the CTFs all the time, like DB Browser, Dcode, XF Tools, HXD for hex editor, etc. Question 2. Peel back the layers. For this question, you will need to download the file thisisfine.pxz. This looks like a zip file, so I use gunzip from the command line, which failed. Then I just used the macOS browser to double-click on the file, and it was able to unzip it into a folder which contained a bunch of smaller files. Most of them appear to be graphics and doesn't seem to be anything of interest. And then I saw a file named manifest.json, so that's got to be it. So I took a look at it and saw that it contained a tiny URL. I figured that the URL was an answer like the first question, so I plugged it into the answer box, but nope, that was not the answer. So then I figured there must be a clue in the URL, so I pasted it into my web browser, and just like that, I got Rickrolled. After recovering from the shame, I thought maybe they wanted the URL since the clue was to find the hidden link. So I tried a bunch of different variations of the video URL, and none of them was the correct answer. After wasting a good amount of time on this, I decided to look at the files again. Then it occurred to me that there is a really faint, tiny URL on the bottom of one of the pictures. So copying that URL and pasting it into the web browser again, because I like punishment, it turned out to be Alexis Brigoni's GitHub page. And submitting that turned out to be the right answer. So for question 2, the answer is another fantastic DFIR resource. Briggs's GitHub is probably best known as the repository for all of his leap tools, from ALeap to iLeap to VLeap, etc. And these tools are pretty much used to parse Android logs and events, iOS logs and events, and vehicle logs and events, respectively. All super useful in CTFs, and more importantly, in real-world cases. Lastly, we can ride along and do the countdown to his retirement in 2028. Question 3. Good grief. I'm a huge Peanuts fan, so I'm already excited about solving this one. The first thing to do is to download the file vanpelt.png. And looking at the file, it looks like some kind of key substitution code. I have definitely seen this key before and believe it's called a pig pen cipher because it looks like pigs within different pens. But I call it the Lucy cipher because of the letters in these positions. And I figure that kind of fits because Lucy Van Pelt, right? So I must be on the right track. But when I did the substitution, I get gibberish. So I looked at the clue again, and it says inverse logic. So basically what I did was I took the key and reversed the alphabet so that now it looks like this. And now when I decode the message, it gives me the word double black. And plugging that into the flag box gets me the correct answer. And so let's take a look at the answer for question 3, which is double black. If you look at the website, you will see that it's a digital forensics focused website by Ian Whiffen. Here he has blogs about digital forensics and also tools like Epoch, which decodes a timestamp into a human readable format. And it's always super useful. Question 4, Resident Evil. Once again, we need to download a file and then figure out what to do with it. This time the file is challenge3.vhdx. Being a vhdx file, I could just bring it into a Windows system and then load up the virtual disk. But because I'm a Linux nerd, I wanted to see if I can figure it out using the command line. So I started using the hex viewer, xxd, to look at the file. As I scan through, I notice a section that looks like a NTFS MFT entry, right? Because it's got a file name called readme.txt. And then there's some kind of text mixed in with a bunch of binary data that says these aren't the droids you're looking for. So I copy the binary data and then pasted it into CyberChef. And then I use the from binary operation to convert that binary into hex. And then once again from hex to ASCII characters, and I see https://github.com/mandiant/macOS-unified logs. So I plug that URL in as the flag and got another one correct. The title of this question is Resident Evil, which refers to the fact that if you have a small file like less than 512 bytes, the NTFS file system will actually store that data within the MFT record instead of creating space for that file. So this allows for quicker access since the data is already in the MFT, which was already read. And this is called the resident attribute. So it seems like that fits the clue. All right, so the answer, the macOS Unified Logs program, what is that? It's basically a parser for the unified logs that started to be used in Apple devices around 2016. This log iterator can be used to parse the unified logs to extract the messages, process IDs, timestamps, event types, etc. And once again, it is super useful if you need to go through logs from Apple devices of any sort. Question 5. Bonsoir Elliot. All right, yet another download. This time we download a file named Hide and Seek, which is a WAV file. I listen to the file, and the music kind of sucks, but holds no clue for the flag. Looking at the clue, the capitalized words are deep and sound. So I basically Google audio file, deep, sound, and then I also put in INT80 because that was part of the clue. And I wasn't quite sure what that meant. But looking at the results, I see that there is actually a program called Deep Sound on GitHub, which is a steganography tool. Hey, you know what? In my business, that's a clue that I'm on the right track. So I download the tool and read in the WAV file, and lo and behold, there is a file named secret.txt, which is hidden in the WAV file. Extracting that file out and looking at the content, I see that the flag is dfir.blog/unfurl. Typing that into the answer box gets a correct answer only if I look carefully and type the URL verbatim, which must include the trailing slash. Okay, so if you're unfamiliar with unfurl, this is yet another useful tool to decode mystery strings. If you have a timestamp or some kind of base64 encoded message, it will figure it out for you, right? You don't even have to tell it. You just paste it in there and it will figure it out, which is kind of cool. Question 6. Cows come in all shapes and sizes. All right, another download. This time is a file named moo.zip. And once I got it downloaded, I unzip the file and we get a file named moo.exe. Because I wanted to do everything in Linux, I resisted running the program on my Windows box. I started to look at the file using a hex editor. And I pretty much found nothing because it is a pretty large file. So I had no choice but to go to my Windows box. Then I used a decompiler to study the code. And after spending a few hours on that, it went nowhere. Then I saw a post with a clue about wrestling. So I started to Google WRES and ciphers and digital forensics and also got nowhere. Oddly enough, when I processed the file in ASCII, it immediately showed me a few graphics which included different sized cows culminating in a barcode. So I took that barcode and fed it into an online barcode decoder and got a long hex string. I tried to use all of the decoders I know, including unfurl, and I got nothing that would make any sense. Then I used that long string as the input to the mu.exe program, and bam, I got the URL for evanolvm.com. So I plugged that in as the flag, and that was the answer for question 6. All right, so this tool, Evanol, it's a Linux virtual machine that is chock full of digital forensics tools. I'm a Kane distro guy, but I looked at Evanol anyways. And it's basically based on Suguri. So if you can see here, it's got tons of forensic tools that's part of the Suguri package. And it looks like here we can see that Hexordia uses it for their classes. These are all useful tools for digital forensics and incident response. So there you go, another useful tool. All right, so those are my methods for solving the Cipher portion of the 2026 Magnet CTF. And again, there are many ways of getting the answers. These methods worked for me. If you have a different or better way, leave a comment below and share. If you are interested in Capture the Flag walkthroughs, I am sure you will like this video here. Make sure you click on the blue monkey to subscribe. Thanks for your time and happy hunting.